All right, students. So today let us continue our discussion on functions and talk about scope and generators. Okay, so what do you mean by scope, students? We have already seen this particular concept. It is a revisit to the concept again. So what do you mean by scope?
The order in which the variables are executed, sir.
It is not the order in which the variables are executed.
Whether the function can be executed or called.
No, scope.
The
Uh,
accessibility of a variables.
correct. It is the
Visibility of variable in
accessibility.
order. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is the accessibility or visibility of a variable. Okay, so where it is visible, right? So that is called as scope. So you can have the scope within a particular block internally, right? Or it can be accessible to the entire program, so on and so forth. So that is called as the scope. Let us see an example. We have already talked about this in one of our earlier classes, remember, wherein we had a look at a keyword also called as global. Okay, in this particular example, I have main, and say, for example, I call a function called as a and define that function a, right? And let me return something. So here in a, say I have a variable, okay, say 10. All right. So before I call this particular function, right? If you print x, right? What is the answer, guys? So here there is no call to the function, right? You just have a value 10 within a variable x, and you're printing x. So the output is going to be 10, right? Okay. So return pass, it is invalid. So let me comment this out. So here in this case, the output is 10. So in this particular case, like, what do you mean by the scope of the variable x? Okay, so scope is, tell me the answer, guys. What is the scope of the variable x?
Global.
Global. Okay. Okay, so when you say global, right, that means what? X is available to all the functions. This basically means that X is available to main. That is the meaning. That is the scope of X. All right. Now, say for example, when you say global, see, okay,
Have to
let me,
define outside the main function. Yes, sir.
yeah. So if I have this, say for example, I have A called, and within A, rather than doing a pass, okay, now can I do this, guys? Can I return X? Can I return X and say here in line number 4, let me do a print of I, print of, sorry, A. What do you think the answer will be? Is this okay? As you said, like, the scope of variable X is global, right? So that means that is the visibility of X available to this particular function A as well?
No, sir.
So see, you need to be careful when you use the word global, right? So what do you think the answer will be? Will it be okay or some kind of error? Yeah, it says X is not defined. Okay, so X is only visible to the function main. Okay, although you call the function A, right? If you want X also to be visible within A, what you need to do? You can do that, but before we look into that, let us see the concept with another example. Say, for example, if I do, or say redefine X to be, say, 20 now, what do you think the answer will be?
10 and 20.
Pardon?
Output will be 10 and 20.
10 and 20, right? So x here, although the name is x, x here is a separate local variable that is visible to A only. Clear, guys?
Okay, sir.
Okay, so that is the meaning of scope, right? Now, this is not applicable to other blocks like your if blocks and your loops and all, right? If blocks, while blocks, your for blocks, right? The scope is not limited to that particular block. The scope is outside that particular block as well, unlike your functions. So please remember that. Okay, now coming to another point, right? Now say for example, let me comment this out, right? And if I do run this, right, as we have already seen, this is not defined. But in case, if I want the visibility of x, which is defined in main, also to be available in A, what can I do?
Define x outside main.
Sir, outside main, sir.
Define it outside the main. Can I do this way? So you mean to take this out and put it outside here?
Yes.
You mean this?
So the now output will be 20, 20, and 20 and 20.
Do you really think so? Where is your entry point, guys? You actually start with main, right? So whether this will be identified. This will be identified because it works from top to bottom. Yeah.
X equal to 20 should be inside the
Inside the if.
name equal to main, there it will be.
Okay. So you want to put this in line number 13.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Okay. So, okay, if I do that, although it's not a good practice, okay, let us do that. So you meant this, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in this particular case, you mean to say that x is accessible to both?
Sir, the indentation, sir.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So it gives you 20, 20. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, but as I have already said, this is not a good practice. If I don't do this and follow the good practice and still want the value of x, which is 10 here within main, right? What can I do? Is there any way?
Global X.
What's the
Yeah,
value?
yeah, you can make that as a global thing. You can say x is global. So the visibility of x is now also available to x. So A should also be able to identify x. So let us see that. So you get 10, 10. Okay, guys?
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yeah.
So by default, within any function block, it is considered as a local variable.
It is internal to that particular function only. The access is not available to anything else outside of that particular function. Okay.
But if we use global once, is it enough to use it once, or should we use it for every block?
No. When you say a particular variable is global, that means that the visibility is available to the outside of the function as well. So as you can see here, the visibility of x is available to A as well.
Sir, now I have a question. So if there is a new function called B,
yeah, it will be visible to that as well.
Okay. So it will be visible to that as well. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, another doubt, sir.
Yeah.
Can we declare like global and a variable inside any function, or is it only? Should we only do it inside the main function?
No, you can have it anywhere. It's a global is a keyword. You can have it anywhere.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. All right, guys. So that is the idea behind scope in Python, right? You can have internal scope, you can have external scope, right? And you can have global scope, right? And also please remember this local scope is, if you are defining it for a function, right? It is only for that particular function. Whereas this is not applicable to other code blocks like if block and loops, including your while loop and your for loop. All right.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Sir, so now if we uncomment the x is equal to 20, A will return 20. But now with the x is equal to 20 uncommented, how do I still access the global variable?
No, when you say x is equal to 20, right? Now x is equal to 20. Now you cannot access this global variable. Now you are explicitly saying x is a 20, which is a local variable. You cannot do that.
Oh, so I can't, like there is no scope resolution operator or anything here, sir.
No, 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 no. In C++ you have that, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, that's why I asked.
Yeah.
So even if I have x equal to 20, I can't access the global variable.
Yeah, you cannot do that. It's not possible.
Okay.
That way, yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Sir?
Okay, but coming to your point, right now, if you do a global here, what do you think will happen? Global x here. What do you think the output will be if your understanding is right?
It will become 20 after that.
No
Okay.
change.
So what is the answer?
Again 10.
Okay, is it 10 and 20 or 10 and 10?
10 and 20, I guess.
10 and 20. Okay, so understood the concept. So that is scope in Python. All right, guys?
Sir?
Yes?
So global variables cannot be accessed for loops and if conditional statements.
No, you can have access within that particular thing, but it doesn't make sense generally.
Oh, okay, sir.
All right, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Sir,
then, yeah.
there's a general doubt, sir. So, like, if I have a function inside another function,
Okay.
then the contents in the inner function will be visible to the outer function also.
Correct.
I'm just asking, it will be visible, no, sir? Like,
Yeah,
if
inner functions, yeah. Correct. By default, outer functions contents are available to inner functions as well.
okay, okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Now coming to the next point, right? Let us talk about generators, guys. Right. Now with this particular idea, right? Probably the best practice in your lab programs, like you need to have your returns on almost all of your programs, right? You can tackle this with this particular idea as well using generators, right? For the kind of problems that you're solving in lab, you can make use of generators also as applicable. So let us understand generators first, and then let us proceed with a simple program. Okay, so generators, guys, it is again a special kind of function. You can think of generator as a special case of function, right? But just that instead of returning a single value, right, a generator returns a or gives you back a stream of values. That is just the difference. It's just another fancy name. Rather than calling it as a function, you call it as a generator, right? With just the difference being that rather than returning a single value, you return a stream of values. That is generator, right? And
So a string of values means many values at once.
many values at once. And can you give an example? We have almost seen, or we have been using a kind of function that was kind of returning a stream of values almost for all our programs that we have been doing till now. Can you tell me what function is that?
Range.
Range, absolutely correct. When we saw example using for loop for in something range, and we pass in the parameter, right? The built-in function range, guys, right? It is a generator function because it gives you a range of values, right? If you look into the implementation, or if you try to implement range itself on your own, right? You can understand why, like, okay, this is a function that gives you a range of values, right? So in fact, let us see an example wherein we probably rewrite our generator function, right? And see how this particular function works. All right, guys?
Okay, sir.
All right. So I am in this particular program. So let me try to imitate the built-in range. Okay. So how do you write the range, guys? What is the syntax? For some variable I, and then you say n, you say range, right? This is the syntax. Am I right? And range is a built-in function. And you can pass in how many parameters? Either one parameter, two parameter, or three parameters. Or can you also pass four parameters?
Only 3 parameters, I think.
Maximum 3 parameters you can pass. Okay, so let us take a very simple example, right? Let us understand range and try to build this, right? Say for I in range 5, if I print I, right? We all know this. What is the expected output? In this case,
0 to 4.
it is 0 to 4. All right. So let us now, this is a generator function, right? Now let us write this particular function. Let us write our own function to imitate this particular functionality and probably include the range, right? From 0 to 5, right? So since 5 is not printing, let us write our own function so that 5 is also printed, right? In fact, this particular example that we are seeing now, or that we'll be going to see now, I think this is one of your exercises there as well. So you can take this as an understanding and write your solution for your exercise as well, right? In your own way. All right. So, okay, let me now say this is say range version 2. Let me write my own function, right? And I'll come back to this, right? So what I'm trying to do is I am having my own function here, right? So for I in some kind of sequence, okay, I'm defining my own sequence here. All right. Now let me define that particular sequence, right? Let me make sure the indentation is proper, right? And let me define a function called as range version 2. All right. And what can I pass here, right? So range, right? What can I pass here? Can I pass any arguments here? Because as you can see here, range by default, it takes in either 0, 1 or 2 parameters. So I think this is again a fantastic opportunity to make use of what, guys? Variable number of arguments. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you can make use of variable number of arguments here, right? And represent that, right? And as a general or good practice, when you represent a variable number of arguments, you make use of star and explicitly say that ARGS, right? Although the name could be anything, the best practice is ARGS, right? So you can pass variable number of arguments, right? And then let us define our functionality, right? So either we can have 1 parameter, 2 parameter, or 3 parameters. All right. So first of all, let us get the length of the arguments according to what the user supplies, right? 1, 2, or 3, right? So whatever the user is going to supply. So for that, first of all, let us get the length of the arguments. How do you get the length of argument, guys? Or length of any sequence or any container? There is a built-in function called as
Len.
len. You can make use of len, right? So you can make use of len and get the length of arguments, right? And maybe save it in a variable called as argument length, say AL. Okay. So let us take the length of the arguments, right? And let us have a initial thing or say begin, right? So let us say it as a B, right? And initialize it to say 0. Right? So if you don't give anything, right, your first argument is 0. Sorry, if you give one particular parameter, right, your first argument is 0. Am I right? If you give range 5, your first argument is what? 0. So let us have begin as 0. So begin is always going to be 0. All right. And this is your kind of first parameter, right? And your second parameter as the parameter that you give, right? Let us get that. Say, let us have the second one as say n, or let us put it as, let us write it completely so that we understand what we are doing. Okay. Okay. And this is our argument length. Okay. Now let us get the end depending upon the arguments that the user passes, right? So what we can do here is, right, we can also initialize our third parameter, right? So the idea here is we are getting the argument length first, right? We are getting the begin as 0, right? We will get the end as the argument that the user types, right? And then what? what can we do? You also have a third parameter that we can probably initialize. And what is the third parameter, guys, for range? First parameter is begin, second parameter is end, third parameter is
Increment.
Step value, which is usually 1.
Increment.
step value. Yeah, step value by default is how much?
1.
All right, so step value equal to 1. That's the default value. We'll get the end value, right? Depending upon what the user gives, right? So let us initialize this and then let us check the argument length, right? So what we can do, guys, so if arg underscore length, right? So if arg underscore length is 1, so it is either 1, 2 or 3, right? So if it is 1, what? Tell me, guys. If argument's length is 1, right? We have already initialized our begin and step value. What we can do now, or what we are supposed to do now? We can do a end, which is our second value, right? So what is your second argument?
ARGS.
Correct. So if argument is equal to 1, it is essentially your first argument, which is ARGS. But how do you represent? ARGS is essentially a sequence, but you want the first value. It is a tuple, right? How do you access a tuple? ARGS of 0. Can you do
It
that?
contains only one element, right? So,
It contains only one element. Even if it is ARGS, it is going to be that only. But we are explicit here. Okay?
Okay, sir.
All right. So either you can give it as ARGS or you can give it as explicitly ARGS of 0. Right? Now, let me just copy this because we have got a similar kind of signature, 3 cases, right? So, okay. Otherwise, what we can do, what is the syntax for otherwise in Python? elif, right?
Yes,
elif,
sir.
ARGS is 2. Tell me now. Tell me the statement, guys. If you pass in 2 arguments, then what?
Begin equal to or 0,
Yeah, begin is equal to 0.
and end will be 1, arg of 1.
Yeah. So in this case, again, you can just say ARGS. You can use a representation, tuple representation, right, with begin and end, right? Begin, end, right? So in this case, right, the first value will be begin and the second value is going to be given to end, right? Now if it is 3, what? It's a similar thing. Tell me, guys. If it is 3, begin, end, and what is the third parameter?
Step value.
Step value. So let us assign those to ARGS, right? Okay.
Sir, if you're assigning that to ARGS, it will be other way around, no, sir?
Pardon? No,
it should be-
ARGS is assigned to begin step and step value, depending upon the number
Okay,
of
sir.
parameters. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
All right. Okay. So otherwise, what can we do? Let us also have the other 2 possibilities. What are the other 2 possibilities, guys?
Sir, default arguments.
We can have less than 1. Yeah. Can you have this? If you pass more than 3,
We
they
can't.
are wrong. So let us take into that possibility as well.
So, one doubt. Why are you giving begin, end, and step as a tuple?
Yeah, this is another shorthand notation. So when you have this particular kind of notation, this particular thing is a tuple because ARGS is a tuple, and if you represent this way, right, your first variable will be assigned to the first item in the tuple.
Even without that, by default it will be assigning, right? So
Yeah, you can do that as well. Without your particular tuple also, you can do this way also.
yes.
Yeah, so that's up to you. So I'm just making use of the syntax because since ARGS is also a tuple, I am being explicit on that. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So I am also taking into the possibility of the parameters less than 1 or greater than 3, so that if you don't pass any parameter or if you pass more than 3 parameters, it should print. This another concept that we will learn in detail later, which is about try catch. Although it is out of syllabus in your course, right? If time permits, we'll talk about try catch. But since we are tackling this here in this particular example, let us either let us do it with a print for now and see if it works. And if it is less than 1, let us print something. What do we print? Print invalid arguments, something like that, right? And similarly, if it is greater than 3 also, let us print the same. All right. So we have just tackled all the different cases, but we have not yet come to the main part or aspect of generators, right? So what can we do is, right, we need to now generate a sequence of values, right? So what can we do? We are now supposed to generate a sequence of values from your begin till end, depending upon what kind of arguments are passed, right? So either we can have a loop, either a for loop or a while loop. Let us say we have a while loop, right? So we can check, say, while begin is, say, less than. Okay. If it is less than end, right, our logic will be the same as range, because we get the output from 0 to 4 if it is 5, right? So let us have equal to also, so that in version 2, right, the end is also included, right? So let us have something like this. While begin is less than or equal to end, right? Now comes the interesting part, right? What do you do, guys? Generally, in a function, you return a value using return, right? So let us return, right, begin, right? So whatever value the begin has, that is returned, right? And then what can I do?
Begin plus equal to 1.
Begin plus equal to 1. Our
Step.
Step count, because by default it is 1. We are getting the step count as appropriate from the user. So you can say begin plus equal to, right, or begin,
Yes.
yeah, plus equal to, it's a shorthand notation. So begin equal to begin plus step value here, right? Okay. Now, do you think this will work, guys?
No, sir. You do once and return.
Yeah, this will do once and return. Okay. Again, some indentation problem. Can you just spot? This should be here, right? Is it okay now?
Everything should be backspaced from def.
From def main?
No, not def main, def range 2. Def range 2 should be like equal to the def main, like that line.
In line number 2, for loop is it in the present
Line
continuous?
number 5 and line number 2 should, line number 1 should be on the same.
Line number, which one you are saying? Line number
Line
1?
number 1 and line number 5.
Line number 1 and line, yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, correct. So let us take this entire stuff. Let us push this. Okay, let me see if I can.
Sir, why can't we call a function inside a function? We can do that, right? Why is the reason?
No, you are calling the function inside a function. You need to define it outside. Okay.
after we can just push the line 5 alone now, sir. Why should we push these things also?
Okay, correct. Now, is this okay?
I think so.
Okay, so if syntax wise it is fine, right? As you said, it should return a single value. Again, int is not iterable. Okay, what do you think this error is? Type error, int is
Sir, I
not.
think we have defined range v after main.
See, correct. It is not iterable. Int object is not iterable because see, what you are doing is you are returning a value, a single value, right? A single value, it's not iterable, right? So you need to have a sequence. That is where this generator idea comes into picture, right? So rather than doing a begin, right, what you do is you specify a yield. Okay, so what will happen is, right, think of this yield as a suspend and resume on a function. What will happen is, when this is encountered, right, a value will be returned, right, and then it will resume from the next line.
Sir,
That
I
is-
don't understand why did we get this error and why are we putting yield?
Pardon? You get this error because you are using a non-sequence type here. What is required for a for loop is a sequence, and range version 2, if it is a return over here, it returns a single value. A single value is not iterable here. That single value is an int, right?
Okay.
Sir, instead of pass, can you give print just for convenience sake?
Pardon?
Instead of pass, can you give print I just for
Okay, yeah, we will print I. We need to print I again. Let us print I. Maybe let us print all the values on the same line. So how do you print all the values on the same line?
end
End is equal to.
All right. Now again, as you said, let us see if return gives us the same error. It gives us the same error. All right.
Sir,
So yes.
sir, return comes out of the loop after finishing, but yield resumes back. Is this right, sir? What I'm saying?
Absolutely.
After finishing, the return statement comes out of the loop.
Yeah. What? Okay. We are not doing a yield here, right? So let us do a yield. So when I do this yield, what will happen is it will return this value begin. It will return this value and it will be a part of this particular tuple, right? And then it will come back to line number 23. It will come to the next statement after yield and do its execution. So since this is a part of the loop, right? So this loop is going to be executed once again. Understanding?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, if I run this now, right, it gives me 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it right? Is the output correct, guys? Okay. Okay, indentation. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let us have a space. So this is range version 2, wherein we are also including the last part. Okay, now let us see the other exceptional parts if it is working, this particular part, right? Invalid arguments, right? So what if we give, say, 5, 10? It gives from 5 to 10, right? What if we give 5, 10, 2? It gives 5, 7, 9. What if we give 4 parameters? We are picking for greater than 3 as well. Say 2, right? Okay, it is throwing some error rather than printing invalid arguments. We need to fix that. Okay, so with 0 arguments also, it should give the same error. It's the same here. Okay, so what is happening, guys? Why things? Okay, did you guys spot out what the problem is? It says local variable end referenced before assignment, and it is right. What is happening, guys?
You have to return, sir.
Yes, when this particular case is encountered, right? What is happening here?
It prints and just continues with the while loop. That won't happen.
That won't happen. So how can you fix that? Either you can have a try-catch block here and raise an exception, right? Or since we have not talked about try-catch block and exceptions, right? For now, let us fix it with something else. How can you fix it, guys? Any idea?
Return.
Yeah, you can do a return, right? So you can just do a return. Great. So this should work. Just do a return. Invalid arguments, right? All right, so that is yield, guys. Fine. So now we have talked about scope.
Can you
and
explain
generator.
only once again why return
So just a doubt here,
is not working? Return begin is not working. Can you explain it once again?
Return begin.
That ends in while loop. We got an error, right? Int is not iterable.
Yeah, see, when you return, you are done with the function, right? When you say return, you're done with the function, that's all. And even if you have the argument correctly specified here in this function, right? You are done with this particular function, right? This is being returned, right? So in the first case, right, what will happen is, in this particular case 2, right, when this particular condition is satisfied while begin is less than or equal to end, it is going to send begin, which is 0.
So one
0.
doubt, sir.
1 second, let me complete this answer. So what happens here is 0 goes to this particular place, right? So essentially it is for I in 0. Okay, and the syntax for this particular for loop is for whatever item in a sequence, right? And this is not a sequence, right? With this kind of functionality in range version 2. Hope I'm clear.
Yes, sir. Understood, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody else had a doubt.
Sir, so by using yield, we are saying this Python will know that we are returning a range and then in will work there, sir.
Come again?
By using yield, we are able to use a for loop there under the range in the main. We're using for I in range of. So there in will work, sir. It automatically returns like an object or something.
No, this range version 2 is a generator function, hence you are using an yield and you are getting a stream of values.
So it is okay to use in that case, you know, while looping over the range.
Int, I did not get you.
No, sir, I and in line 2, sir. I meant that.
Okay, in line 2?
The I and in. So we can
Okay.
use that in that case. So it will be returned like an object or something, sir.
This way?
No. The function will return because we use yield. How is it different from like returning a function? Like how does it return the string of values?
No, this yield returns a stream of values by suspending the function and resuming from the part after the yield statement. So the first time yield is called, it returns a value. Begin is returned, right? And then this particular function is resumed after the yield part. So it resumes at line number 26. So this is executed. Since this particular step is a part of the while loop, right? And the while loop is not yet satisfied. So this continues again. Hence you get a stream of values in this particular case.
So
Okay.
one doubt, sir.
Yeah.
In this example, what's the arc length, sir? Like just an example, like we are passing 2 to the function. So length of argument will be like, what's the value actually?
So length of argument in this particular case is 2.
Okay, like so the number itself will be
Length of argument is not 2. Length of argument is 1. You are passing the value 2. The length of argument here is, say for example, if it is 2, 3, 4, right? The length of the argument is 3.
3.
That you are calculating here in this line number 7.
Yes, sir. And
Okay.
then we are initializing begin equal to 0, step value equal to 1. And
Yeah.
the else condition, again, like, what's at begin comma end?
No, you are just assigning the value of begin to the first item in this tuple, argument 0. So essentially it is argument 0. It is something like this. Essentially, it is a simplified notation for begin is equal to args of 0 and end is equal to what args. It is essentially these two statements written in this particular form.
Okay, sir. And then when we go down, we are while looping it. Okay.
Yeah, this is your major functionality here. Wherein, see, in any function, if you see a yield, that means that it is a generator function.
Okay, sir.
All right. In this case, it is 2 because, okay, it is 2, 3, 4. So if I have something else, 230 and 220 and 4, it should give us the range. So 2, 6, 10, 14 and 18, inclusive range. So this is an inclusive range. So if I just say 220, it is from 2 to 20 rather than from 2 to 19, right?
Okay, sir.
All right, guys. So yeah.
So just
Any
one
other doubts?
Sir, while
Yeah,
defining
please.
range V2, we use star args. No, sir. What is the star, sir?
This basically means that you can pass variable number of arguments to this function. So we tested this by passing 1 parameter, 2 parameter, 3 parameters, right? So for that you make use of star args. That we have seen yesterday. Yesterday's class we talked about variable arguments using var args and keyword arguments. Remember?
I wasn't present there, so I couldn't answer it.
Okay. So essentially, if you want to pass multiple number of arguments, you make use of this particular notation.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay. Sure.
Okay, and similarly, if you pass in essentially a key value pair of arguments that is also multiple, then you make use of star star. Okay, so you can refer to the previous video, yesterday's video that I've put in LMS for this particular concept. Okay.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other doubts, guys?
So far,
Yes.
Okay, let him ask.
so for I in range version 2 waits until the yield function returns every value. Am I right, sir?
Yeah, this I in range version 2 essentially is this range version 2 is a function call. It's a generator function call. So essentially it waits, as you said, till you get all your values, stream of values.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir, is yield a good like a best practice?
Yield, your question, I can say it is a best practice if it is required.
Like normally we use return, sir. So instead of that, can we use a yield wherever required?
Yeah, wherever required. If your problem is to be solved with that particular yield or a generator function required, you can make use of. In fact, behind the scenes, if you look into the documentation or your GitHub repository for Python, range function itself is implemented using yield, the concept of yield.